Thank you, Yahweh. You are so good. So constant is your generosity. Have you been rescued by Yahweh? Rescued from the claws of oppressors? Then say it. Thank you, Yahweh. You are so good. So constant is your generosity. He gathered them from the far lands, from the east, west, north, and south. Some, astray, lost in the desert, the trackless wilderness, not finding a path to human settlement. Starved and parched they were, their breath of life about to leave them. To Yahweh they cried out in their agony, and from their distress God rescued them, guiding them to the straight road on the way to a populated city. They thanked Yahweh for Yahweh's kindness, telling everyone of Yahweh's marvels, how God satisfied the parched soul, how God fed the famished spirit. Some, captive in gloom and misery, imprisoned by privation or iron shackles, having provoked the word of the Almighty, mocked the guidance of the Most High. God humbled their heart with drudgery, to where they stumbled helplessly. To Yahweh they moaned in their throes, and from their distress Yahweh released them. God brought them forth from their gloom and misery. God loosened them from their fetters. Thank Yahweh for Yahweh's kindness. Tell everyone of Yahweh's marvels. For God broke down rigid prison gates. Iron bars God crumbled. Some, baffled in their depraved behavior, starving themselves in their waywardness, any food nauseated them, they neared the gates of death. To Yahweh they cried out in their agony, and from their distress Yahweh rescued them. God's word God sent to heal them, to escape from their destructive ways. They thanked Yahweh for Yahweh's kindness, telling everyone of Yahweh's marvels. They dedicated offerings of thanks, singing hymns to tell of God's deeds. Some, they go down to the sea in ships. Their work is in the mighty water. Such wonders they have witnessed, God's miracles in the bottomless ocean. God roared, and there whipped up a gale. The waves rose high, tossed sky high, hurled down into the chasm, retching out their souls, reeling like dazed drunks, all their wits gone, consumed. To Yahweh they cried out in their agony, and from their distress Yahweh rescued them. God calmed the gales. God soothed the waves. At the calming the sailors rejoiced as they were led to the haven they sought. They thanked Yahweh for Yahweh's kindness, telling everyone of Yahweh's marvels. They exalted God to the gathered people. In the elders' council they cheered God. God can turn rivers to deserts, water fountains to parched dryness, a fruit-bearing land into a salt barren, because those who live there are so corrupt. God can also turn a desert into a wetland, a sand waste into an area rich with water, there to settle the hungry, establishing them in a city well settled. There they would sow their fields, plant their vineyards, harvesting fruit from their orchards. Because of God's blessing, they became populous. Their cattle did not diminish. Where before they had been brought low and humbled through the force of malice and pain, God now pours out shame on the pretentious and makes them lose their way in confusion. God raises the beggared from privation. Like flocks, their families expand. Take note, you righteous, and rejoice, because depravity has shut his mouth. Whoever is wise will attend to these thoughts and meditate deeply on Yahweh's grace.